Hello, dear friends. You haven't truly lived until you have done something for somebody that can never repay you. John Bunyan. Opinion piece. Turbulent Waters. Rapid change. The stage is set. World in chaos. Cosmic confusion. Emotional tension. Time of dissolution. Global acceleration. New world disorder. The storm of the future. The genie is out of the bottle. Let's start. It's an ill wind that blows nobody any good. When there is chaos, confusion, or disorder, there is always someone who takes advantage of the situation to profit. This suggests that the new world disorder is creating opportunities for players who know how to move quickly and strategically. This can also be seen in strategic markets, where the geopolitical crisis alters energy, trade routes, and prices, opening up space for those who anticipate the movement. Joe Lange predicts that peace agreements and the rapid fall in energy prices will pave the way for the next great transformation. In his view, the free flow of oil will create an abundance of energy that will be necessary for the global economic growth that is about to begin. It will happen much faster than people expect because all of this has been planned and programmed. Once the stage is clear, the processing phase can begin. According to Mylan Adams, the world system that kept great power rivalry within predictable limits has begun to dissolve. It's not going to explode, it's going to dissolve. The world order is fracturing quietly, not through a sudden collapse, but through the gradual erosion of the limits and mechanisms that for decades contained great power rivalry. International stability is weakening due to the mounting tensions, as governments prepare for an era of rivalry. Kerry Kay says the world is going through a state of chaos, with wars, division, and a general sense of collapse of all the structures. She argues that this is not an absolute end, but rather the collapse of an old timeline giving way to a new stage. She also explains that the global crisis is generating confusion because many different realities and perspectives coexist simultaneously. This overlap produces mental shock, emotional tension, and increasing difficulty in processing what is happening externally. This moment is pushing many people to lose interest in all forms of power and to seek a reclaiming of personal sovereignty. In this context, she presents suffering and upheaval as a test that can lead to inner transformation and affirms that love acts as a stabilizing force in the face of external disorder. Alternative news. They are not updating the system, they are replacing it. And you can't replace the system while it's still working. This isn't politics or diplomacy, but a controlled demolition of the old world order. Every move has planned, every date chosen, and the sequence set before we even knew that we were seeing. Judy Bington predicts a transformation in the global economy marked by a gold-backed currency, international cooperation, and the introduction of advanced technology amidst global lockdowns and the media blackout. Insiders report that the old systems are being quietly dismantled, and the first waves of asset revaluation are already underway. Meanwhile, several governments are holding emergency closed-door sessions, adjusting regulations to fit the new financial architecture. The infrastructure is in place, the gold is being moved, and the players are ready. When all the major nations withdraw their gold from your vault at the same time, That's not diversification, it's evacuation. Elon Musk has built parallel communication system for the entire planet, and it just went live 650 direct communication satellites. Your phone can connect to them with a tower, no Wi-Fi, no internet provider. T-Mobile quietly activated it last week without a press conference. It just went live overnight. All cell towers became optional. Elisa Ayres represents the idea of a global financial reset and frames it as a transition from the old monetary order to a new international architecture. This change would be driven by tensions between various powers and by recent political decisions that would alter the existing system. It also explains that the original Bretton Woods system was the framework created after World War II to stabilize trade and currencies, with the IMF and the World Bank as central institutions. However, the activation of sanctions, the trade divide, and the increase in global debt are weakening that order. The current system needs a new basis for international settlement, and this transition is a gradual replacement of the old financial infrastructure with a more multilateral one. Rinus Verhagen argues that politics function as a tool to keep the masses under control through propaganda and deception, for the benefit of a hidden agenda. He asserts that the GSRA program represents a transition toward independence from governments, with the end of coercive control, more equitable justice, and a debt-free system geared toward prosperity and spiritual freedom. He also says that the process has been long, confusion, and uneven, and that this has generated both unity and division among people, according to their varying levels of spiritual awakening. He attributes this division to divide and conquer tactics and the government disinformation, adding that when a government loses credibility, it can no longer persuade or maintain its authority. He presents this change as part of a perfect storm in which wars, revelations, the fall of the old order, and a global acceleration of events coincide. He further states that the stock markets are being manipulated to conceal the collapse, although he believes that this situation cannot be sustained indefinitely. Furthermore, he describes the awakening of consciousness as an uneven process in which each human being progresses at a different pace, and concludes that systemic change depends on the understanding and conviction, replacing fear and the acceptance of coercion. Reflections. The 3 days of darkness, often misinterpreted as apocalyptic, are reinterpreted by Ismael Perez as a powerful spiritual transition that signals Earth's entry into the photon belt and the evolution of humanity. Each soul, upon seeing the possibility of life on Earth, becomes convinced that it can achieve it. Its guides try to dissuade it, but it insists that it is ready. However, it underestimates the difficulty of life on Earth. Dolores Cannon stated that it is a great honor to be on Earth during the ascension. The invisible prison, according to Zachary Fisher. One of the hardest truths to face is realizing that most prisons don't have bars. They have comfort, destruction, fear, conditioning, and repetition. They teach people what to think before they learn to think for themselves. Victory is not given, it is won. Nax Taku elaborates on the idea that victory doesn't come by chance or as a gift, but rather requires effort and determination. He insists that achieving a goal involves overcoming difficulties and sustaining constant struggle until it is attained. He also presents victory as something built through personal discipline and inner growth. The most important conquest is not only external, but also self-mastery and the ability to remain steadfast in the face of obstacles. A warm welcome or a cold rejection. According to Proletario, we live in an era where change will be so rapid that people will wake up thinking it happened while they were asleep. But metaphorically speaking, they would be right if we consider what many ignore today. When it comes to change, however positive it may be, not everyone will welcome it with open arms, something that should be predictable judging by history. Communities will form around the preservation of ideologies that will clash with a truth that will uproot traditions and customs that many will not easily abandon or perhaps ever. We have all witnessed how extremists can act over political differences. Do you think this will change because some classified and exotic files were leaked? Breaking news. Markets oscillate between geopolitical optimism and pessimism. The EU opens the door to using US kerosene if the crisis worsens. Iran is suffocating with its ships paralyzed by the blockade and is pining its hopes on rail transport with China. Goodbye to Dubai's tourism sector, which is already losing 500 million euros daily. Russia and Ukraine agreed to a 3-day truce from May 9 to 11. UN experts admit their apocalyptic weather predictions were implausible. California farmers will destroy 420,000 peach trees after the bankruptcy of Del Monte Foods, canning factories. Ecuador announces a new sovereign bond issuance. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.